An honest talk about casual sex, false promises, searing pain, and tragic problems. Presented by Concerned Women for America's Beverly LaHaye Institute. This recording was made from a recent conference speech given by Dr. Janice Crouse, Director and Senior Fellow of CWA's Beverly LaHaye Institute. It was given to a group of college students in Washington, D.C. For more information, visit our website at www.cwfa.org.
Let's start with a bit of history. I came of age in the late 50s, early 60s. During that period of time, after World War II, Alfred Kinsey and Hugh Hefner were a big deal. These were guys who really shaped what America was going to be like at that time. Kinsey redefined what was normal sexual behavior. It wasn't until much later that we learned that his research was fraudulent. Even the scientists of that day said that it was fraudulent, and yet people continue to today using his research, even though it is acknowledged amongst the publishers and the scientific people who are in academia that this is fraudulent research. What Kinsey did was say that deviancy and sex outside of marriage is normal, that everybody does it, it's common, it's widespread. Along at the same time, Hugh Hefner redefined what boundaries were in terms of sexual behavior. He published, of course, in his Playboy magazine, nude pictures of young women, and traditional morality he portrayed in his magazine as something very repressive, something negative, something harmful to people. This led to all sorts of emotional problems, he said, and he said we have to free women from the repressions of traditional morality, from the puritanical, the prudish, and all those things that the Judeo-Christian ethics put on us as restrictions. His Playboy philosophy became the rule of the day. So all of this was coming about and part of the popular culture during the same time that the churches were losing their message. Churches at that time became somewhat irrelevant. They failed to take a stand for Judeo-Christian ethics, for morality. They really fell in line with the whole idea that being prudish was the ultimate embarrassment. So these guys were given free rein in the culture. There was no restriction, no cultural phenomenon that counterbalanced what they were saying. At the same time, universities were adopting postmodern ideology, and they confiscated the whole idea of morality and truth. And postmodern ideas then replaced morality and truth. During that time, there were no moral anchors. There was an absence of clear thinking. Anything goes mentality was the rule of the day. As a result, there were disastrous consequences for women and children. Let's look at some of the promises of casual sex. Young people during that era were told, and this is true today as well, that sex will make you popular, sex will make you happy, sex is great recreation, sex is fun, sex is free, just do it. That's the message that we had then and the message we have today. There are also some myths of sexual freedom. We were told back in the late 50s, early 60s, and continuing on through the 70s, that equality for women was based on free sex, that this was the matter of the end of male domination, that if women were going to be independent, they had to be independent first and primarily sexually. They wanted to have better careers, and if you wanted to have a better career, you had to be free sexually. You couldn't depend on a man, and there could be no glass ceilings. And you had to be free of unwanted childbearing as well. So abortion and all of the free sex was an integral part of the whole change of the culture during that time. But the truth is, casual sex does not meet human needs. I found this out as an academic dean in a university during the early 90s. During that time, the students who came into my office with academic problems, once I got to know them and talk to them very personally, I discovered many of them were having problems in a sexual relationship, and that was the reason that their grades were going down. Found this out in talking to numerous other campus leaders. People in these student development offices, for instance, say that depression has doubled in the last 10 years, that sexual assaults have tripled, and suicides amongst college students have quadrupled. We're seeing tremendous backlash, tremendous onslaught of emotional and health problems related to increased sexual activity. Why? Because we as human beings seek permanent and exclusive emotional bonds through sexual intimacy. We're not just seeking the pleasure, we're not just seeking the immediate experience. We are also seeking a long-term emotional relationship with someone. And it's far more than momentary sexual excitement. Transitory pleasure is part of it, but that's very insufficient and unsatisfying in the long term.